Coming live from Broncos Stadium at Mile High, this is All Sports with Gerardo. Thank you for watching another episode of All Sports with Gerardo. This is your host, Gerardo. So right now I'm standing outside of Broncos Stadium at Mile High. This is the home of the Denver Broncos, the three-time Super Bowl champions back in 1997, 1998, and 2015. Just recently, the Broncos won Super Bowl 50. Right here, we got the Super Bowl 50 number. So this has been out here ever since we won the Super Bowl. Super Bowl 50 was such a historic Super Bowl. It was 50, so they used the number 50. The Broncos were in the Super Bowl. We won the Super Bowl. So we got to show off the Super Bowl 50 number out here. It's all over the stadium. We're proud to be three-time Super Bowl champions. So let me show you Broncos Stadium at Mile High. Right behind me is Broncos Stadium at Mile High. The old Mile High Stadium was right behind here. There's a lot of history out here in Denver. Of course, out here in Denver, the team that we root for the most, they're the favorite team, they're the number one team, is the Denver Broncos. Everybody loves the Denver Broncos out here. There's no other team that we love or care for here in Colorado more than the Denver Broncos. This is your team if you're from Colorado, Denver. You gotta like the Broncos. They have so many good players from the past and currently. So much history, both in Broncos Stadium at Mile High, but especially at Mile High Stadium that used to be here on the same property right behind Broncos Stadium at Mile High. I'll show you where that was. To the left over here was McNichols Arena. That was the home to the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche for a few years until they got the Pepsi Center. It was out in that parking lot straight ahead. That would be Lot C where it used to stand. Mile High Stadium was behind the current Broncos Stadium at Mile High. So a lot of history here in this area, Denver, in these parking lots. These structures don't stand anymore, but people will not forget the history that is in this area. So let me show you around Broncos Stadium at Mile High. This is the Pat Bowlen statue outside of Broncos Stadium at Mile High. Pat Bowlen is one of the best NFL owners in the entire NFL. He's one of the best owners to ever own a team in the NFL and even in other sports as well. Pat Bowlen has been the owner since 1984. The Broncos have been to more Super Bowls than they've had losing seasons throughout the whole ownership of Pat Bowlen. Under ownership of Pat Bowlen, the Broncos have won so many games. They've won over 300 games in the last 30 years. No other NFL team's done that. They've been to many Super Bowls. They've had many winning seasons. They've had many playoff appearances, division titles, conference championship titles. They've had so many appearances and winning records and many other things than they've had losing seasons throughout the whole ownership of Pat Bowlen. He's one of the best owners in the NFL. It's too bad that he's not present at this time with the Broncos, but he definitely loves and cares about the Broncos. What Pat Bowlen did on and off the field for the players, for the community, for Denver, for Colorado is so amazing. I can't say it enough. He's such a great owner. He's definitely being missed. He'll definitely be missed as an owner. The way he would interact with the players, with the fans, he's one of the best owners. Nobody else can top Pat Bowlen. To begin with, the best Denver Broncos of all time that have ever played on the field, the Denver Broncos and the Broncos owner Pat Bowlen honor all the best Broncos players of all time throughout all the years that the Broncos have played. Inside the stadium, they got the Broncos Ring of Fame. It has all the Ring of Famers, and it also has the players that are in the Ring of Fame and the players that have been inducted into the Hall of Fame. It has their name, has the years they played, and it has the symbol if they're in the Hall of Fame. And out here, just a few years ago, they just added these plaques out here, and it has all the Ring of Famers as well. If you look here, you got all the best players that have ever worn a Broncos uniform out here. You got their face, you got their number, you got a bio, you got their background history about them, who they are as a player. This is their background of them. This is all the Ring of Famers, and it includes the players that have been into the Hall of Fame as well. But right now, I'm standing next to the best one out here. He is our favorite player of all time that's ever played for the Denver Broncos, that's ever put a uniform on for the Denver Broncos. He's the best player here in Colorado. No one can top him. He's the best player that has played on any of the professional sports teams here in Denver and in Colorado. It's John Elway. He's the best player that has ever played here on the Broncos field. He just played in the old Mile High. He never played here in Broncos Stadium at Mile High, but he's the best to ever wear a Broncos uniform. I would not top any other player above John Elway. He played his entire career here with the Denver Broncos from 1983 to 1998. He's been to 5 Super Bowls. He won the last 2 Super Bowls back-to-back in 1997 and 1998 before he retired. He got inducted into the Pro Football Hall of Fame in 2004. He's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. He's known for the drive. Back in the AFC Championship game when they played the Cleveland Browns, he's known for the helicopter play when they played the Green Bay Packers in the Super Bowl. He's done such amazing plays. He's such an amazing quarterback. He's one of the best quarterbacks to ever play in the NFL. He's one of our favorite players here in Colorado. He's definitely the best player to ever play here in Colorado. Just him and Peyton Manning are the best to ever wear a Broncos uniform. We've had many great Broncos players throughout the years since they played. The Broncos started playing back in 1960 up until now, but John Elway is definitely our favorite. He's the best. He'll always be the best. Right behind him is Peyton Manning as well. We've had many other players throughout the years that have been great for the Denver Broncos. You can see all their plaques here. They got all their names, their pictures. Inside the stadium, they got the plaques that have their names, the years they played, if they're in the Pro Football Hall of Fame or not. We've had many players throughout the years that the Denver Broncos have existed, but John Elway's definitely the best. Right now I'm wearing Peyton Manning's jersey. He's my second favorite player that's ever worn a Broncos uniform. Von Miller's definitely a great player. He has the potential of making it to the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He won Super Bowl 50 with the Broncos. He's definitely one of the best players in the entire NFL. I can't wait to see Von Miller play again this year. He's always great on the field and off the field as well. And I just can't wait to see him play his entire career here with the Denver Broncos. I hope he does. He's definitely going to be a Ring of Famer. He'll definitely make it into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And Peyton Manning, before he came to the Denver Broncos, he was already one of the best quarterbacks of all time. He was one of my favorite players as well. I was so happy when the Denver Broncos signed Peyton Manning. It was one of the best free agent signings of all time that the Denver Broncos have did. Just playing his 4 years here with the Denver Broncos, which was his final 4 years, he was so great. They made it into the playoffs all 4 years. They could have went to the Super Bowl all 4 years. They went to Super Bowl 48, but they lost. They went to Super Bowl 50, which was Peyton Manning's last year. They won the Super Bowl. Peyton Manning got to retire from the NFL as a Super Bowl champion. Not too many players can say that they won their Super Bowl in their final year in the NFL or in any sport. So it was nice to see Peyton Manning get another Super Bowl ring added to his collection. He's won many awards. He's definitely one of the best quarterbacks to ever play in the NFL. He's one of my favorite players. Even though he only played 4 years here with the Denver Broncos, he's definitely considered one of the best players in the NFL and to ever play for the Denver Broncos. I'm so glad that he got to play for the Denver Broncos, and I just can't wait to see what happens now this season with the Denver Broncos and going into the future. Right now we're standing outside of Broncos Stadium at Mile High. In the background of Broncos Stadium at Mile High is the city of Denver. You get such an amazing view of the city skyline of downtown Denver. But right in front of us is Broncos Stadium at Mile High. So they started breaking ground for Broncos Stadium at Mile High back in August of 1999. Then in September of 2001, Broncos Stadium at Mile High opened. It's been known as having 3 different names. Many people call the new stadium Mile High Stadium because the old stadium, which is in Lot J to the left, where that hill is going down, that was the old Mile High Stadium over there. So it was just known as Mile High Stadium. So a lot of people, including the fans, kept calling it Mile High Stadium, but this stadium in front of us, when it opened up, was known as Invesco Field at Mile High from 2001 to 2011. And then in 2011 to 2018, the name got changed to Sports Authority Field at Mile High. But both Invesco Field and Sports Authority Field went under bankruptcies. The companies had to close, and they didn't have the money to pay to have their name on the stadium, so they had to take their names off the stadium. Just a few months ago, Sports Authority had the names taken down from the stadium after the Broncos season ended last year. That happened back in January. So they were just going to have a temporary name for the stadium. Right now it's going to be called Broncos Stadium at Mile High until we get an official name. Then they'll put a name onto the stadium, but it'll just be known as Broncos Stadium at Mile High. So right now I'm here in the parking lot where the old Mile High Stadium used to be. If you swing the camera here to the left, this whole parking lot where the hills come down the way they do, this is where the old Mile High Stadium used to be. We're standing in the parking lot exactly where it used to stand. And then right behind us is the current Broncos Stadium at Mile High. Broncos Stadium at Mile High has the same capacity as the old Mile High Stadium. Only like a few more seats were added to the new Broncos Stadium at Mile High, but they had about the same seating capacity. Broncos Stadium at Mile High hosts the Denver Broncos in the fall and the winter. They play the football season. Then they host the Denver lacrosse team, the Denver Outlaws. So right below us right now, if you look down that way, this is the downhill of the parking lot where the old Mile High Stadium used to stand. The old Mile High Stadium was open from 1960 to 2000. That's where the Denver Broncos played until they got the Broncos Stadium at Mile High built. And throughout those 40 years, the Broncos didn't start playing there, but the stadium was here. But then like in the 70s, then the Broncos started playing here at the old Mile High Stadium. A lot of history was here at the old Mile High Stadium. This is where John Elway played, and if you look down into the parking lot, that is the Mile High Monument. That's exactly what the old Broncos Stadium looked like. It was called Mile High Stadium. The original seats to Mile High Stadium are in there. It's a mini Mile High, but it looks pretty similar to what Mile High Stadium looked like. Then you got the south stands, you got the scoreboard. That's exactly what it looked like. It's too bad that it's closed. Otherwise, if it was open, I'd show you a video inside of there to show you what the old Mile High Stadium used to look like. But this is exactly where it used to be. A lot of history there. John Elway played there as well. A lot of our really good Broncos players from the past played at Mile High Stadium. And then right behind where Mile High Stadium is, that is the current Broncos Stadium at Mile High. So they broke ground for Broncos Stadium at Mile High in August of 1999. It opened in September 2001. That is where the Denver Broncos play football in the fall and in the winter. Then the Denver Outlaws, which is the lacrosse team, they play lacrosse in the spring and the summertime. The stadium is closed today. Otherwise, I wish I could show you a video inside the stadium. But Broncos Stadium at Mile High in the distance has the Broncos that play there, the Outlaws, and then they host many concerts throughout the year and other private events. Broncos Stadium at Mile High and the old Mile High Stadium have about the same seating capacity. So both stadiums have a lot of history, and I can't wait to see what happens here at Broncos Stadium at Mile High with the Denver Broncos this year and going into the future, and what other future events that we host here in Denver. Many big events have been hosted here at Broncos Stadium at Mile High in the past, the last few months, and I hope that we get many good events going into the future as well. So throughout the last few days, I've showed you my hometown, Denver, Colorado. I've showed you our 3 stadiums here in the Denver area. I've shown you the Denver skyline, the downtown area out in the distance as well. I'm really proud to call Denver home. I'm glad that I had the opportunity to show you the 3 stadiums. We have Coors Field where the Colorado Rockies play out in the distance. We got the Pepsi Center where the Denver Nuggets, the Colorado Avalanche play out in the distance. Over here we got Broncos Stadium at Mile High where the Denver Broncos play. We got the old Mile High where the Broncos used to play. We had McNichols Arena where the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche used to play. So I'm really glad that I got to show you these 3 stadiums and the former stadiums here in the Denver area as well. They're really nice stadiums. They're one of the best stadiums in the US as well. And these 3 stadiums are definitely worth coming out and seeing. It's definitely worth coming out and seeing a Rockies game at Coors Field. Even going and seeing the Denver Nuggets or the Colorado Avalanche play at the Pepsi Center. Come see the Denver Broncos play here at Broncos Stadium at Mile High. It's definitely worth coming out and seeing these stadiums out here in Denver, Colorado. You definitely want to travel across the US and see other stadiums. If there's one thing I can recommend to you, visit as many stadiums as you can across the US, because there's something unique and different about every single one of them. I've been to many stadiums across the US. I'm glad that I've had the opportunity to see other stadiums and see what they look like and how that stadium functions, the fan base that they have, the team, the type of fans, how good the team is, because there's a lot of history with every single stadium or every single team in all sports. So it's definitely worth coming and seeing stadiums. Make that a must-do thing if you really like sports and want to see different types of stadiums. So I'm glad that I got to show you these 3 stadiums here in Denver. It's too bad that I could not show you the inside of the Pepsi Center or Broncos Stadium at Mile High, or even the Mile High Monument, because they were closed and there's no events happening. But I really hope that you enjoyed these videos. I'm glad that I got to do these videos, so stay tuned for other stadiums that I visit across the US. There'll be videos from there. I'll talk about other stadiums during my shows as well, so stay tuned for that. And I just want to say thank you for watching another episode of All Sports with Gerardo. Until next time, this is Gerardo.